you're involved in the Scottish Working Group for the Property Institute. Are there any interesting projects or developments happening in there at the moment?
Well, the sort of main development that we've been working on the last few years and is now out is the new professional diploma in property factoring, which was a big new development there. It's a brand new diploma level course that's created specifically for Scotland, and it's been created by the people within Scotland as well. So it's a lot more bespoke and a lot more relevant to the legal system, the land tenure that we've got up in Scotland.
Sure.
And seems to have really filled a gap in the industry.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because you want to. I mean, you obviously have a lot of qualifications. I met Mark on a number of occasions, and he was, every time he spoke to me, he was really into kind of making sure that the people in the industry had a kind of set standard and these sort of things. So it's a good way to make sure there is a benchmarking of ability, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's just helping make it a really, really professional industry. And it's raising the bar. It's giving the people that work within the industry the skills to do the job to the best of their ability. And it'll help with the likes of the retaining talent in the industry, because I know that's been an issue over the last few years.
Big challenge, yeah. I have to say, and I probably mentioned this before, I obviously deal with a lot of property factors in Scotland. That you walk into an office and someone says hello to you and you're like, you don't work here, you work somewhere else. So I think there's a lot of kind of movement within the market. But also we interviewed or did a session with Malcolm Perryman and remind me, Jax, who else we had when we did that, when we were talking about the industry and things like that, and people in it.
Zoe Southwell from Block Recruit, an English recruitment agency that specialises in.
Yeah, and one of the things that came out of that and the chat that we had with Malcolm the previous time was they do the Property Institute now do a survey every year, obviously, on and the number of people who thought that they would leave the industry was quite large. So yeah, you're right. You've got to do everything you can to keep your talent in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was that survey as well, because it touched on the mental health issues and the levels of abuse that some of the people in the industry was getting, particularly working from home, but getting shouted at or abused is awful. So we've at PMAS we sort of took that on board when we were creating our conference for last year, and we introduced some sort of speakers and some workshops that could help with that and help the management of that sort of thing, and it seemed to have gone down really well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's something that people, 10, 20 years ago probably didn't think about, but it's everyone's very mindful of it now, as they should be as well. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that comes up quite a lot when we talk to people on this podcast from the industry is about the kind of education piece of the flat owners and these sort of things, and an awareness of actually what a factor does, roles and responsibilities and things like that. There's a lot going on at the moment, particularly with the draft bill of compulsory owners associations. What's your thoughts on the need for this? Is waiting for legislation the right thing to do, or could the industry be doing more before that happens? What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to be waiting for legislation. I think where we are just now, particularly with the PMAS, is we're very active in looking to educate both our member firms and inside the industry, but also we're doing a lot of work to educate out with and to communicate with MSPs and counsellors, and just to sort of dispel some of the myths that are going about round about factoring. We've got sort of like newsletters that we send out as well, just whether we do that monthly or quarterly, and that'll just keep that flow of information going. and that's, again, I think that's vital, is that we support our member firms, and they can be given all the information, and generally we'll be in discussions with the government if they are looking at any sort of legislation. Sure. But our member firms will be kept in the loop and essentially be ahead of the game if there is any introductions like that.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, we've had a whole raft of, in fact, I was thinking about, in fact, I mentioned to you just before we came on that I'd sold my legal software business. Now, I have to say, I was looking at maybe doing a bit of buy-to-let stuff, and you know, even understanding this industry and knowing it and these sort of things, it's still a daunting prospect to kind of jump into that kind of purchasing and common living, these sort of things. So I think there is a huge amount of, you know, education required for people. And the one thing that who was it? It was Annie Flint that we interviewed, and she was talking about the home report just not going far enough. Yeah. And I have to say, having sat and read 4 or 5 home reports over the last 2 weeks, I tend to agree, because, you know, you're not really getting a huge amount of information from that. So and you know, and it's a big step buying property in flatted developments and you know, common living places.
Yeah, and I think it seems to be getting more difficult as well, especially the buy-to-lets, because they're making it difficult to do service-let apartments if there's a communal access as well. So there'll be a lot of people looking to buy flats to do them through the likes of your Airbnb, but need to now apply for permission from the council. And if there's communal entrance ways, then they're denying them on that reason. So it is quite difficult at the moment.
Yeah. So how has the industry changed since you started? 12 years is a long time. And what's been the most significant change?
I would think the biggest change would be the introduction of the Property Factors Act and the sort of first code of conduct. That again was a complete game changer, sort of making it a lot more of a regulated industry. And then obviously with the revision of the code of conduct that's followed on since then. So it's made it, you've got to be a professional property manager now to factor developments.